you recovered from that roller coaster game from the weekend?
Oh, it was, wasn't it? Seesawing affair, as it was called after the game. Yeah, there was. I think it was Carlton's gears went up and ours couldn't quite match them for periods, and ours went up and played some good footy. As I said after the game, we were a little bit unstable after we lost Libba, but we were really wrapped with the boys being able to get it right, and a couple of lads needed to shift roles and responsibilities, and it was probably fortunate we got out to that margin. It was just the buffer we needed in the end.
Pleasing to come off the bye, knowing that they're mentally switched on and ready to have a crack at the second half of the season.
Yeah, that's something, isn't it? And as you leave the building to go on your 4-day sojourn, you talk about the risks attached to it, and the boys went away with a little bit of a program just to make sure that they kept their eye on the ball, and it was really pleasing for us to come out so emphatically in the first quarter and make a bit of a statement. And as we say every week, if we can just keep it up a bit longer.
You mentioned Tom Liberatore. Is this potentially the week for Riley West to get his debut in the absence of Tom?
Maybe. O'Reilly will be in the 26 that are selected. And we'd love to give Riley an opportunity, but what we don't want to do with our brand new players, and Riley's one of those, is throw them to the wolves and put them out there before they're totally ready. We want it to be a good experience for them, and Riley's shown some terrific signs, and whether he's ready to pull the competition apart, no first-year player does it straight away, I suppose, but hopefully we can get him in the team before the end of the year. It may be this week, but it may be a bit longer too.
Must have been a relief for you, avoiding the dreaded ACL.
It was a big relief. It seemed like the same mechanism that he had last time when he ruptured the ACL, and so it's encouraging that it can't say only cartilage, because ultimately we're playing the long game in our players' lives as well. We want them to be comfortable post-footy, and so any wear and tear is going to cost them later on. But the turnaround is reasonably tight, so hopefully we get Tom back in, not long after, about a month.
Dale Morris, is he in the mix this week? Is he in that 26?
Not yet, no, another week. And as you can expect, Dale will play with Footscray when he comes back. He's been out for a while now. It took him 2 or 3 games last time to get his game fitness back up, even though he still looks like he could be in one of the Marvel movies. He'll need to just get his wits about him at state level, and then we'll see if we can get him into the AFL team after that.
You've been saying, I think last week, that he was a chance. Is it frustrating for him that he's not back this week or not playing any footy this week?
Yeah, it's like he's waiting outside the match committee door, isn't it? Frustrating. He understands. He went out and trained with the group a couple of weeks ago, and he didn't re-hurt himself, but he just felt some awareness, and so it probably just set him back another week, and he's feeling good again. So the good thing is with Dale in his break, he's been able to do some media stuff, and he's been able to talk about the game and talk about us and talk about his journey. So it's probably just a bit more out there in the public domain than you'd expect, and that's why it seems like he's going to play every other week. But he's at least another week away.
So no VFL this week, but next week in the VFL?
Hopefully the week after, yeah.
If he finishes the season strong, I know it's a bit of crystal ball here, but he's publicly said in the past he wants to play as long as he can because he's a long-time retired. Would you contemplating going on an extra season if he was to finish really strongly?
Yeah, definitely. And Dale and I probably talk every fortnight to 3 weeks about it, and like all his predecessors who've finished up, like Bob and Boydie and maybe 1 or 2 others, my philosophy has always been, and my transparency with them has always been, well, if we feel like you can make a difference next year, well, let's just go on if you want to. So, but that's not solely my decision; it's a list management decision, and we'll discuss it at that level. There's 6 of us on that committee, so there's every chance.
Coming into this week against Collingwood, it was quite an arm wrestle the last time you guys played. How do you bridge the gap between that clash and this week?
Yeah, we were right in there, weren't we, early in the last quarter, and then it seemed like they overpowered us a little bit in that last quarter. And I suppose Collingwood have done that to a number of sides this year, and it's happened to us against various opposition, and so yeah, it's a bit boring, isn't it, when you talk about playing at a level or an intensity for longer. But we definitely tactically last time went in with a bit of a different plan, and it seemed to suit us and maybe stifle some of the things that they like to do. So we'll go in with a good plan. It'll probably be different. It'll suit our personnel. Their personnel's a little bit different this time. But as I say every week, yeah, we'll believe, this will probably be the headline, won't it? Yeah, we'll give ourselves every chance.
I mean, they've had a fair distraction this week with Jaden Stevens' suspension. Do you think that could play into your hands? I mean, it's a fairly big story, I guess.
Yeah, probably not. I mean, I met Jaden at the draft combine. He seems like a brilliant young kid. Obviously, he's made a mistake, so it's a real shame. He's an important player for them, but they've got a lot of depth on their list, so I'm sure they'll cover it. And yeah, it'll just be interesting to see whether they change things and pick Ben Reid or whether they continue to go with a bit of a smaller forward line, and so we'll just need to be ready for either.
No, just on that, where do you stand on the issue of gambling in our game at the moment?
Oh, we obviously can't gamble on our game.
No,
do you mean gambling generally?
Yeah, in its entirety.
Yeah, well, I mean, too much time on our hands and too much disposable income. They're the two dynamics that collide and create a real issue. And there's obviously some huge challenges in our game from club to club and individual to individual. A lot of the boys don't punt at all. But so the important thing for all of us who mentor and support our players is to continue to seek out new ways to fill in their time. You know, I mentioned the other day that it's important for players to have another vocational focus, you know, vocational, not vacational. Or there's a bit of time to go before they start thinking about vacations. And whether that's still in academia and they're doing some tertiary studies, or whether they've got a job placement, but they need to fill in their days. The priority is that they become consistent and prolific AFL footballers, and that hopefully sets them up for life. But it won't if they haven't got things to fill in their gaps, because they'll dispose of that money too easily, and one of those mediums is gambling. So we've all got a responsibility to help them, and sometimes players need intervention and even their flow of funds controlled. I think the player managers do a pretty good job with that, and it's, you know, the clubs monitor it through our welfare systems and we try and have open and honest conversations about it, but it's definitely a challenge for us.
Do you feel like it's a bigger issue now than it's ever been in the game?
I think the bigger the salary cap gets, the bigger the demands from the PA and what goes into the player's pocket, the bigger issue it's going to be, because I mean, the thing about having a gambling issue isn't how much money you lose. It's about the relationships you fracture in the process. It's about what you actually do to your life. It's not necessarily about the money. The money is obviously a factor. And what we see, and even in this instance with the Pies, it's caused some frustration. So it's a fallout from that, not necessarily it's definitely not the $36 or whatever it was that Jaden lost. So, yeah, I think it's only going to get bigger as the funds continue to flow into the players' pockets.
Are we doing enough as a code to support?
Oh, I think we can always do more. Yeah, absolutely. And that more is making sure that we continue to assist, help, prod, facilitate new ways for our players to go and do other things, not just play footy.
You're a premiership coach. Do you reckon 10 weeks was a fair enough suspension?
Oh, I'd rather not go there, Ronnie. 1 week was, look, I mean, he'll learn his lesson. Yeah, I don't know. As far as the sanctions go, I haven't really got a stance on it.
It's an unusual feeling, given that you were one of the three clubs. Jaden, when he had his bet, was one of them. You guys. How did that sit with you?
I don't want to hammer the young fella any more than he has been. So he'll learn his lesson and he'll move on. But it's a bit of a strange one. But hopefully he learns.
As a coach, I guess, like more relatable to you with Nathan Buckley now, how do you get around a play like that? Like you've got the personal side, but also the team dynamics as well.
Yeah. Oh, look, can we not? I mean, I think they'll deal with it and manage it in their own way. And I think clubs are great at supporting players who have the occasional slip up, and this is one of them. I'm sure Collingwood will do it well. They've got great people there, so I'm sure occasionally they'll make light of it internally. I'm sure his teammates will sarcastically, take the piss occasionally, but ultimately he'll learn his lesson. I'm sure he'll be fine.
Does Dr. A come into
Probably,
the equation?
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, definitely being that 26, and yeah, he came back and played outstandingly well. So he prepared himself well with Nick Stone and our return to play guys, and so he'll definitely come into the mix. Yeah,
And it's a pretty important game in terms of staying in touch with the top eight, isn't it? Like, do you see this as? I know coaches say every game's important, but now we are at round 13, you're 5 and 7. Is this probably one of the more pressing games of the year that you've got to stay in touch?
well, I think when you're behind the 8 ball a bit, you're always hoping and wishing that you were further ahead of it. So to even up the ledger, to get closer to, around 50-50, you've got to keep winning games. And so, in the scheme of things, they're all important, but the further and further behind you start to drop, then obviously the less chance you are of being there at the end of the year. So, as I said after the game, the furthest thing from our mind is what happens after round 23, obviously including the bye. But we'll go hard this week and hopefully be 6 and 7 at the end of round 14, isn't it?
Easton Wood, what makes him a good captain? 150th this week.
Yeah, 150 for Easton. What makes him a great captain? Well, I think all the best leaders lead through actions and words, and I think over time Easton's probably led extremely well through actions and the voice aspect as far as instructional and supportive and educational type voice is something that now he's really evolving with. So he's quite rounded. He's obviously a great role model on a lot of fronts. He's a professional, and he's just such a stand-up figure in our game. So, and obviously he led the club through Bob's absence years ago. So he established enormous credibility through those times and self-belief. And yeah, it's a great milestone for him to chalk up the 150.
Is he recognised enough in the AFL circles as a leader and captain?
I don't know. I mean, ultimately he was. I've got to keep looking ahead. Don't want to reflect too much, but he's achieved a lot. So I think down the track, once his career over, I think he'll be remembered in the right fashion.
And Daniel and Dunkley re-signed this week for fairly long term. That must be pretty pleasing soon after Norton as well.
Yeah, it is. It's critical that we sign up all our players that are on the journey with us, but are also really spiking in their performances. And those two in particular are having outstanding seasons and starting to lead the charge on what our next push will look like. And they've earned 3-year contracts, I think. So it's brilliant for the lads, and we've been in discussions for a while. It's a bit of a relief to get it done every time our players sign on the dotted line.
You must be happy for fans to contend with less security this week at Etihad Stadium.
Yeah. Well, that was obviously a mistake. So yeah, the sort of, as I said the other night, a risk mitigation type approach is the right way, and as occasionally, I mean the crowds self-regulate a little bit, but you don't want our supporters looking over their shoulder and whether or not they can wave a banner or be vocal.
Brody Grundy had a bit of a day out last time you guys played. I mean, have you seen Tim Gilbert's games evolve since then, and what are your plans for him this week?
Yeah, well, he did. He was quite prolific with the hit-outs. I felt like Tim was pretty good around the ground with the possession game, and if we can even up that ruck battle a little bit. But Tim's Tim's another one who's having a terrific year. I mean, he's really progressing. But yeah, it's a challenge. It was great to see the way he played on Matthew Cruiser last week. You know, he's had 2 goes there, and he's probably even better this time. And he was really important in our win. So he's growing and learning and producing week to week.
Crozier and Wallace were another couple listed as test. How are they at the moment?
Well, he'd be still out for a little while. And was that Hayden Crozier, was it, the other one? Yeah, he'll be all right. Yeah. He was just a little bit ill last week. Didn't have his best game, but he's recharged and he should be fine.